What is going on, my beautiful people? Welcome to yet again another episode of the Pivot Mindset Podcast. My name is Justin. I am your host. And man, so excited to have you back on another episode. We here believe that life is all about the pivots, and those who decide to make the pivots decide to become successful. And so if you're listening to this podcast, you have committed your commitment to pivot, to make sure that your life doesn't have to be one decision and you just ride that wave forever, but that you're committed to always look for ways to level up. You're always looking for ways to get better. You're always looking for ways to improve. So, man, thank you for checking out your boy. Thanks for coming back for another episode. Man, let's dive into the topic today. So this topic, man, it's a really important topic. And it's actually was just inspired by a conversation that I had. And I think it's a conversation that needs to be had more often. I think anybody that is in the personal development space, anyone who is looking to develop themselves as an individual, whether that be from a corporate career perspective, whether it be from an entrepreneur perspective, as a better husband, as a better father, as a better wife, child, whatever, right? Like anybody that's looking to develop, here's something that I think is holding so many people back. And that would be your personality. I'm gonna say that again. I believe that it is your personality that is often the biggest challenge when it comes to leveling up and growing and becoming a better version of yourself. You may be out there and you may want to make more money. You may want to attract the spouse. You may want to start a business. You may want to make a pivot in your career. Anything that you don't yet have is often on the opposite side of the things that we've yet to do, right? Because you don't have the things yet, not because you can't, but because you're not often the person that's required to attract those level and those caliber of things. And so, yeah, sometimes it's just a matter of timing, right? Sometimes time is of the essence and you actually headed down the right path. You just got to keep doing what you're doing and you'll get a thing, you'll accomplish something. But that's not always the case. And in this episode, I want to talk about our personalities because I think we often worship our personalities way too much. When we want to develop to be a thing, most of the time, and you'll hear this in conversation, right? You'll hear this in conversation where people will often say, that's not me. That's not my personality. That's not how I'm wired. That's not how I think. And we often connect our identity to our personality. And those can be two different things. Quick story. Jasmine, my wife, she is naturally a more like soft-spoken, often like behind the scenes kind of person. Like she's not that outspoken. She's, in a crowd or in a big group of people, she's going to be like the last person to jump in, to butt into the conversation. She's going to rarely interrupt somebody unless she's like in a fiery conversation with, about talking about something that she's really passionate about. But man, I just had a conversation with her, a little over a week ago, about 2 weeks ago. And she was talking about how her personality almost is starting to shift, where God is really starting to deposit on the inside of her kind of this desire to be more outspoken and the desire to speak up a little bit more and the desire to kind of use her voice in ways that maybe she hasn't in the past. And I think this is a powerful statement because the truth is, as people, we can change. And everything about you can change. Your taste buds can change. Like I remember when I was growing up, y'all, like I used to be a very picky eater. I'm kind of picky now, but I'm not nearly as picky as I used to be when I was growing up. Like when I was growing up, for me, my mom had to make me peanut butter and jelly. She had to make me pizza rolls, right? Like there was probably 3 to 5 staple meals that I would eat. Outside of that, I wasn't eating it. Just a very picky eater. And as I grew older, right, my taste buds begin to change and to develop. Things that I used to like, or things that I didn't like then, I now like now. I almost didn't eat any vegetables when I was growing up. Now I love vegetables. I eat broccoli, I eat green beans, I eat spinach, I eat Brussels sprouts. Like there's very, like my palate has changed. My desire for certain foods have changed. I even have moments where I'm like, man, I need to eat some vegetables. Right? Or that used to never be a thing that came out of my mouth when I was growing up. Right. And I'm telling this story because just like that may happen in the natural with our taste buds and with things that we like, or how things can grow on us, right? Like a taste of something could grow on us. I didn't used to like coffee. Coffee back in the day for me, man, like coffee was the most disgusting thing in the world. I didn't know how and why people drank coffee. It just didn't make sense. The fact that people would drink this like black stuff that tastes like tar, right? In my mind. But now, like I'm cool with coffee. Like, yeah, I gotta spruce it up a bit. I gotta add the creamer, gotta add the sugar, all that stuff. But I actually have a desire for the taste of coffee now. And really, our lives are like that. And how do I tie this in? I'm using these stories because often our personalities and who we are is the same way. And I've heard many times where people will almost disqualify themselves from growth and disqualify themselves from leveling up or learning something or embracing something because something isn't like it not necessarily their personality, right? It's not how they're wired. It's not what's natural to them. And I think, man, it's a travesty. I think it's really sad when people live a life almost worshiping and idolizing their personality and idolizing how they think about things and how they process things, when especially they don't have a life or they don't have certain outcomes or things that they desire to have. Could it be that the life that you want and what you desire to have is on the opposite side of the personality that you are afraid to reject? Man, I'm gonna say that again. Could it be that everything that you desire is on the opposite side of the personality that you've yet to reject? Often what we desire is on the other side of you being a little bit more outspoken, is on the other side of you developing your public speaking ability so you can articulate yourself better and to get into the rooms that you desire. Often the desires of our lives are on the opposite side of how you think about money and how you process. And man, you are naturally a spender, but you can change your personality to become more frugal. You may naturally be more outspoken, but you can actually rewire your personality to become a little bit more reserved. You can train yourself. You could train your body. You could train your thoughts. You could train everything in you to become a different version. Not to say it's a wrong version, but man, I just see so many people out there who they miss opportunity because they have worshiped the feet that their personality stands on, right? And I want to encourage you that if you really desire to live a pivoted life, that the pivots don't always come doing things that you desire to do. Often the pivots come when you make a decision to do the things that you know will get you closer to the goal, despite how they make you feel. You could maybe struggle with being a public speaker, but again, you maybe want to develop as a leader. You, instead of worshiping your personality and saying, I won't be a good leader because I'm not a good public speaker, you can actually just become a better public speaker. And that really falls into many areas of our lives, right? And really my goal with this podcast is to like get you and to try to convince you that it's really in your best interest to always be open to changing and evolving into growing into a version of you that maybe you didn't think was possible, right? Maybe there is a version of you that you didn't know was possible. But if you can expand your thoughts and expand what you know to be you, when it comes to how you think, what your personality is, maybe you can expand your life. I think only reason why people commit and they are settling with living small, meager, average lives is because they have a small, meager, average personality. They have a small, meager, average thought life. They have a small, meager, average circle. But you can make the decision to change those things. Like you can make the decision to jump out of what is common to you, right? You can get a new language. You can adopt a new paradigm. You can adopt a new perspective that will change the trajectory of your life. But as long as we continue to worship our personality or worship how we're wired or worship our thoughts, really, like that's really kind of what makes up our personality. Like what makes up our personality is our thoughts, our beliefs, and our actions. Like that make up and our like expressions, like how we express those things. And so here's my encouragement, right? Is that no matter what you want out of life, that you can absolutely attain it. That there are things that you may think that are not attainable for you. There may be opportunities that you have disqualified yourself from. And it's not because you don't have the ability. It's that you don't think you have the ability. It's that you don't think you can win with what you've got. And I want to encourage you that don't ever close the door on development that you can be taking to become the best version of yourself. I want to charge you. I want to challenge you that, man, if you're listening to this episode, how about this year, man? We just make 2023 the year that we're not going to settle for who you currently are, right? Like, how about we make this year the year that we're not going to settle for the version of us that have continued to attract average people, average results, and average environments, but we're going to only settle for becoming the best version of ourselves at any point and at any limit that we would be able to go beyond what we've been able to accomplish, what we've been able to attain, that you too can do it, man. And man, I know that God has given us a personality, right? Like a lot of us have been wired in a way. Like that's how you can have two people, right, that may grow up in the same household, maybe have had the same circumstances. Maybe they're even twins, right? Grew up, same age, same time, had the same circumstances, but they process the circumstances differently. And they become a different version or a different person based on their personality and based on the filter in which that information and stimuli comes across their brain, right? And for some person, the struggle could make them actually like go harder and be a better person. For some person, the struggle could make them cower down and become a clam and close themselves off to opportunity and close themselves off to the world. And so, man, my encouragement to you today is stop worshiping your personality. That your personality does not necessarily have to be you. Your personality does not have to dictate the life that you get to live. But you can train your personality. You can develop a new personality. You can evolve it. You can shift it. And you can make the decision today. You can make the decision tomorrow to live a completely different life, have completely different thoughts, have a completely different perspective. And I just want to encourage you in that there's nothing that you can't develop into. There's nothing that you can't develop out of. And I think it's a trick of the enemy that will tell you that, nope, you're wired this way. That, nope, you can't accomplish this because that's not how you think. Because no, you're not creative enough, or you're not articulate enough, or your voice doesn't sound good enough, or your skin color isn't good. Like that is a trick of the enemy that will get us thinking that what we have, that it cannot evolve, that it cannot grow, that it cannot become the version or the thing that would allow us to get the thing. All right. And so, man, that's all I got for you in this episode. Stop worshiping your personality. Stop worshiping how you're feeling. Stop worshiping the way that your mind is wired. If you want to continue to make the pivots, we got to be okay with becoming and evolving ourselves into the different version that God is calling us to. All right, y'all. That's all I have for you in this episode. As always, please give this podcast a rating and review. And remember, the life that you desire, the life that you want is all about the pivots. And those who decide to make the pivots decide to become successful. I'll see you in the next episode. Peace.